You guys hear me now, I'm assuming. Give it just a few seconds here. I know there's a little bit of a lag. Any sound yet, guys? Sorry about that. Okay. I'm going to assume the yeah and the yep better. Let me jack it up some more in case. There we go. All right. So, sorry for the technical difficulty there. I was just getting into a little bit of what we've been experiencing weather-wise, where we're moving towards. So, as we all know, we had the great melt since our Snowzilla here in the Mid-Atlantic. The Northeast did get some snow today. So they got, I think it was Winter Storm Lexi that they named. They got a little bit of snow. Being said, you guys have been warmer than usual as well. And we have too here in the Mid-Atlantic. I mean, we had a few days that were in the mid-50s. We had the rain. It's been, you know, overall, it was just kind of a crappy weather this past week. So that being said, we are starting to transition into a much colder and snowier period that's typical with any February that you come across in the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic. But I think this is a little bit more of a setup that is unprecedented that we're coming into from the Mid-Atlantic in terms of some of the pieces that are going to be in place. And that's something I want to go over with you. So the first thing that I'll pull up here, and this is an image that I posted not too long ago, but it shows you, based on Wednesday of this coming week, that there will be a tilt in the polar vortex. It will make its way down into the southeast, which you can see here. If I zoom in a little bit more, you can see western North Carolina. It kind of looks like it's the bullseye. Southern Virginia. If it, you know, I don't know if it's going to be here exactly. That's yet to be seen. But I can tell you that the southeast somewhere will get that bullseye. You're going to have freezing temperatures all the way down into Miami and the southern tip of Florida. So they're not going to know what to do with themselves when this pattern sets up. And on average, we will see in some of these zones here, 36 degrees colder than usual temperatures. So if they averaged somewhere in the low 40s, they're going to be seeing temperatures anywhere around 5 to 8 degrees during that time period. But the same goes across here into the Mid-Atlantic. We're going to be seeing temperatures close to 0 degrees some days per this model starting this Wednesday. And I think that's significant because it shows you that we are heading in towards a mostly cold signature that is very typical when there is big things at play. And I will show you that and get into that a little bit more towards the end of the discussion. So we all saw that there was a snow map that went out there. It was the Canadian model, one that I tend to lean on when some of the longer range models like the GFS and Euro haven't quite figured it out yet. But the Canadian was the first to kind of poke its head out this week and say, hey, I think you guys have some snow. Now, I'm going to tell you guys right now, this is not happening. Okay, 9, 13, 12, 15 inches, that's not going to happen, okay? I don't, for sound, you know, when it comes to actual the quantity of snow on this system, I highly doubt that. We just don't have enough moisture related to it, which I believe our moisture levels are going to be around, 0.5 to 0.8, just under an inch of moisture. So even with perfect conditions, the most you would see out of the storm is possibly 8 to 10 inches, something in that range. But again, I don't think that's the case, and the euro is on board with that same idea in terms of it being less than the Canadian. As you can see here, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. You've got a kind of a sweet spot here. This represents anywhere from 5 to 7 inches in this area, and it's showing about 4 inches that's over the Loudoun County areas. And again, 2.5 would be this band here that is in teal. And in green, you're expecting somewhere in the 3-inch range, right? So more than how much snow with this February 8th to 9th event is actually the duration and when it starts. And this is where I think it could become an issue. So one of the main things I can tell you right off the bat that's going to be an issue is on Monday afternoon is when this thing is expected to begin. So Monday afternoon, I would say that rush hour could get pretty ugly. So if you know, of course, we're all going to be at work. If you're looking at trying to get an idea as far as when to start coming home, you know, I would start considering leaving a little bit earlier than usual if you are out in the DC metro area. Of course, we know our roads are terrible when it comes to rush hour already, pretty much worse than the country. So you add some snow into it, and it could get pretty ugly. But what I want to talk about too is the start and the evolution of the storm, not just what the totals are or when it starts. So if I pull this up here real quick, this is the GFS. Now the GFS is a little less bullish than the actual euro is, but I'll get into that a little bit in a minute why I think that is. But as you can see here, this is around Sunday, right? So towards the end of the Super Bowl, this low right here off the coast is going to start making its way up. And as you see, as it gets over the warmer waters over the Atlantic, it starts to convect and starts to get a little stronger. And then it starts to come just north-northeast, not quite north, but north-northeast, a little bit out to sea. And it continues this trend. Now you see this blue line here. This is your freezing temperature line. Can't really get too much closer. I know it's probably hard to see on smaller screens, but just know it's right in this region, right? So keep your eye on that. Next frame up, you can see the solution still out to sea. I think we'll see this come in a little bit more. I think it will start coming in this way tomorrow's run and closer to Sunday. That's just a hunch, but the euro is suggesting that. And then you'll notice up here there's what they call a Great Lakes low. That will make its way down across the area, and this is actually what the actual snowmaker will be. So here we are Monday early. The storm is still out to sea as far as the coastal is concerned, but you see that Great Lakes low is starting to make its way down. And I'll let it progress here. You can see out to sea, but here comes the low from the Great Lakes across. This right here is early Tuesday. As you can see, a lot of the snow is showing a rain-snow mix, kind of a mess. This will be your thump, if you will, if you want to call it, if this storm has a thump, right here in the Northern Virginia area, and then it moves on out to sea as well. So overall, it's a Miller B is what this is being considered. We don't really do well in the Mid-Atlantic with Miller Bs, so I think the European has the right idea when it comes to these snowfall amounts. Could there be a change? Well, sure. If the coastal storm slows down at all, if it stalls or whatnot, then that low that comes from the Great Lakes would get a little closer and interact more with that coastal, which could up totals. But it's in my opinion right now where I think we're in that 3 to 5 inch range for Northern Virginia at this time. And parts north around the same, maybe a little less. But I think that quote-unquote bullseye is going to be right there in Northern Virginia. So that's February 8th through 9th, guys. Again, starts midday Monday, maybe late afternoon Monday. where we might get nothing at all to flurries to, you know, a little bit of accumulation, maybe a half inch into Tuesday night. So I think, you know, schools probably will cancel come Tuesday. Don't hold me to that, teachers. Just throwing that out there. Just saying. That's my idea at this point based on what models are saying. So the next thing I want to tell you is we're heading into a very, very interesting period of cold weather. I think this is the wheelhouse for the Mid-Atlantic when it comes to weather pattern. And one of the things I like to look at when it comes to patterns is the position of high pressure centers and where it looks like there might be a path for these storms to evolve, right, to make their way through. So here we see, this is for Monday, February 15th. Okay, now this is a little bit in the future. You know, we're talking about, you know, 10 plus days, 9 to 10 days really. But this is important to show you because the setup that you're looking at right here is a snow producer. It is a big time snow producer when you get the energy that comes through. And per the GFS ensemble, which again is all of the runs that are brought together, and it shows you what the mean run is, it's showing a low pressure center that's coming off the coast of North Carolina, South Carolina, and it is blocked in. This is the definition of a 50-50 low. You can actually see the high pressure center here, and you can see the high pressure center here, and then of course you have your low that's on the other end here, right, the 50-50 split. But if you look right here, it has nowhere to go but up, and it will get blocked, meaning causing phasing where the storm begins to band more into the mid-Atlantic states, much like we did with the last blizzard. But even the last blizzard we had didn't have this setup. So I think that's very interesting that this far out, the Euro's screaming the solution, and it's not alone, because the GFS, as you can see here, it's showing the same thing. And just to emphasize this as well, this is what the Euro is saying. It's saying, look, you can see here where we got that high pressure center blocked again on this side with another high pressure center. And this area is just a highway for snow, for storms. So when you have that kind of an agreement that far out, once again, we had an agreement very far out with Snowzilla, probably about 8 days out is when I first started talking about it. Here I am at 10 days talking about a strong signal. And let's show you that signal. Let's show you what the GFS is saying right now for that February 15th time frame for the East Coast. And I will go ahead and scroll this over. Drum roll, please. Bam. Now here we are, what, 10 days out from the 15th? And it's already showing a very strong signal. Now it shows it a little further north than what the Euro is showing, but don't take that too much into heart, if you will. But it's definitely showing a significant event for the February 15th. And not only is the GFS saying that, but also the Euro. And I actually want to pull that up for you guys here and show it to you live. So you're not going to see the snowfall total for the East Coast. I'm just going to let you know that hasn't been generated yet. It will probably happen in tomorrow's run at 1 p.m. I will do an update for that. But I'm just going to play this for you. What I want you to see is in this region right here where I'm circling. I don't know if you can see that on your screens. Watch this area move down in and across here and what it brings. All right, so you can start to see there's some accumulation here on Thursday, 12/11, Friday, the system moves across the top. And what's right behind it? Oh, missed it. Let me get back through. All right. There it is again. And this is the storm that everyone's looking at right now. Right there, dead smack in the middle, if I zoomed in enough, it would show me that 45 inches is the epicenter of this guy. And this will continue to track where the low is positioned somewhere around here. Will continue to track here and then make its way up the coast. And I will tell you also that the temperatures are very cold for this time period. And we already covered this. Here are your temperatures starting February 10th, this coming Wednesday. The temperatures are going to be very cold. So we're not going to have a temperature boundary like we will possibly this coming 8th, 9th, where I think closer to the cities like DC and the coast, we'll probably get a mix. Out west, we'll get more snow for the 8th and 9th event. But for this upcoming event, February 15th, that won't be a factor. So there we have it with that. And then the last thing I'm going to show you before I take some questions, if anyone has them, is what the combined snow total map is from, I believe, the 15th of February through the 21st. So this is a combined snowfall total map from the 15th of February through the 21st. I'm sorry, the 5th of February through the 21st. So from our little event that we'll probably get 8th, 9th through the 21st of February, which it's only counting that storm that's possibly coming on the 15th of February, this is what it's showing. Looks a little familiar, doesn't it? Now, I want to emphasize the setup for this coming 15th of February possible storm is very good early on. It is, and the GFS and the Euro both saying the same thing. Some of the lesser models are freaking out too, as you can see. Actually, this is the GFS, so apologize. I thought it was the Canadian, but again, the lesser models are starting to show it as well. That's significant because if you remember with Snowzilla, if you were with me, I was talking about that storm 8 days out. Now we're about 10 days out from this. And it's once again, a very strong signal with a more favorable weather pattern setup, atmospheric setup. So I think that this is going to be another sleepless week for me with a lot of model runs. We will see where that epicenter lies, and we'll see the evolution of the storm over the coming days of model runs. Does this have a chance to just vaporize and disappear? Of course it does. Chaos theory when it comes to weather. We are at the mercy of the models when it comes to this length away. But that being said, there's very little to throw this pattern off, much like other storms that just never pan out, like this one on the 8th and 9th. 2 days ago, this storm on the 8th and 9th said 12 to 13 inches. Now I'm telling you 3 to 5, because that's how much the models have flip-flopped, based on the fact that the setup was not ideal for snow. This is not the same case for the storm that we could be looking at around the 15th to 16th. So again, a lot to look for here in the coming week to 2 weeks, because again, this pattern will persist probably through February 20th-ish, somewhere in there, 22nd, 25th, somewhere around there. And it's a very cold, very stormy outlook. So what I'll do is I'll open up my Facebook page. If you guys got any questions, go ahead, rapid fire, whatever you have for me, those of you that are on, and I'll go ahead and help you out. Burn, that was not false advertising. That was just the Canadian getting a little ahead of itself. Art asks, so do you think northern Georgia will see any snow on the 15th event? Well, I'll tell you what, I'll go back here and take a look at this, because I don't really look too much in the south, I'll be honest with you. Based on where the low is tracking, I wouldn't say it's going to get anything significant, but if we look here, yeah, you're talking a cutoff of central Tennessee, Art, so I wouldn't worry too much there. Burn asks, would you say the 50-50 low is a setup for basically perfect storm? Is the best scenario something like the last storm we had, or is there a chance we break even more records? I would say this, right now as it is, this map that shows the geospatial heights and anomalies, you cannot get a better pattern than this for the East Coast when it comes to winter weather. This is setting up an express lane for storms to move through, very generally speaking. And when you get the cold air associated with it, it's a recipe for a lot of snow, for sure. And again, just 2 days ago, I'll tell you, this didn't look very much like this, but for 2 runs in a row now, it's starting to show it, as well as all the other models showing snow. All right, man, I hate to tell you, I don't know how the Southeast is going to fare snow-wise, but it's going to get real cold down there real fast this coming week, so be mindful of that. Go back to my page here, see if there's anything. Question-wise, I think, like I said, I threw this together last minute. I'm pretty sure with my update tomorrow, there'll be a lot more to come. But again, thank you guys for being on here this late. I don't know what you're talking about, Joseph Conti. There's got to be some correlation. Aaron, so snow for this coming Monday. Out west, our temperatures are going to be more than cold enough to stick. The question is, how much are we going to have stick Monday? Little, if any, up until later in the evening, when I believe most of the storm will actually come through. We're talking Monday night when we could start to see it pick up an accumulation into Tuesday morning. So Monday as a whole, I don't think is much of a threat at this time. And also, for the rest of you that are still on, the thing that you gotta just understand, and I know, many of you have just started following me, or even those that have been following me for a while, what we are talking about as far as the setup and what we've already experienced with Snowzilla is not normal. It's really not normal. We're not supposed to have this much snow. I think in my assessment for the Mid-Atlantic, Snowzilla took care of verifying my entire winter's forecast for how much snow I thought we were going to get. So if this thing hits, I'm going to bust big time on how much snow I anticipated us getting. I did say that there are some El Nino winters that get a lot of snow. And, I might have underestimated it. So, Jim, that's a great question. Again, ratios is something that you really talk about the closer you get to the event. I know we're going to have colder than usual temperatures, excuse me, but I will tell you that when you get these intense storms that come through, that develop into these coastal storms, there's a bit of a battle when it comes to ratios, because the stronger the storm is, the more moisture that there is, the harder it is to convert that moisture into snow, right? So you get like a wetter snow. But with this last storm that we had, where we had intense amounts of moisture, but even colder temperatures than previously forecasted earlier in the week, you saw higher ratios because of that, and hence why some areas got 38, 40 inches of snow versus what the models were picking up. So there's definitely a chance for higher than 10 to 1 ratios. I would say 12 to 15 to 1 are attainable, but we'll know more when we get closer. And by the way, our average for mid-Atlantic, that ratio average is like 11.25 over 1. That is what we typically get, if you're wondering. Do one more check on my page here, see if there's any other questions, and we'll wrap it up. All right, guys. Well, listen, for those of you who attended, thank you very much. Again, look for my update tomorrow and into Super Bowl Sunday to see what is going on with the February 8th and 9th event. But not only that, but also what I'm anticipating for the 15th. Again, a lot can happen between now and the 8th and 9th storm, but definitely a lot can happen between now and the 15th. But again, I always go by trends, and I always go by what models are showing me on a consistent basis. And when 2 runs in a row now, the GFS and Euro want to bury the Mid-Atlantic along with the Midwest. Thank you guys again. You have a great night. Enjoy your Friday night, and we'll be talking to you. Thank you.